was so fun to hear all of you in the crowd respond to that piece of film, particularly when all of the cast members were here on screen, the ones that are here and the ones that aren't, and I'm super excited for you all to see this. Travis, I want to start with you. This is based on a book by Alan Snow that came out 10 years ago called Here Be Monsters. What about that book struck your interest and led you to believe that there was a film for Leica in it?
We started working on Here Be Monsters almost 10 years ago. It was a book written by Alan Snow, and it had these kind of whispers of this classic literature, the kind of stuff that I grew up loving, things like, Roald Dahl, and, bits of kind of Monty Python entwined in it, Charles Dickens, that sort of thing. We started developing actually the same time that we were working on Coraline. And so, thank you. It took us nearly 10 years to get the thing to the screen. It's this 500-page book. It's like a phone book. We somehow had to distill the essence of that down to a 90-minute movie. And so this guy wasn't the most efficient guy in churning it down. So it took us nearly 10 years. But in the end, I think we have something that's really beautiful. It's a poignant, moving story about what makes a family set against this incredible Victorian backdrop that explores bigotry and corruption. So it's a beautiful story.
Tony, one thing that I found interesting about this is that it's a mixture of stop-motion animation, which you guys did, of course, with Coraline and Paranorman, but also combined with CGI as well. How do those two things work together, and what's the precedent for that, if at all, in Leica and also just in animation in general?
Well, the history of stop motion is the history of cinema. From the earliest days, George Méliès, through King Kong, Ray Harryhausen, to Luc on the Tauntaun and the Rocketeer, stop motion has been part of cinema. And I think, Travis can talk a little bit about it, that the reason that Leica is to pull stop motion into the modern world. So they bring to bear all the latest technologies, to which is a classic animation thing. So with the rapid prototype faces and other stuff, it definitely looks like no stop motion you've ever seen before. And at the same time, this film is probably more so a hybrid than any other film that Leica's made. With each successive film, they've incorporated more and more technology into the process. In this film, there's probably no single shot that doesn't have some sort of CG accompaniment with it, whether it's extending the set or more atmosphere or crowd extensions and stuff. And I think part of the appeal of the book was that you look for these serendipitous moments where the studio is in a perfect place and the project comes along in a perfect place. The scope of the book allowed Leica to use every trick they had in their bag, plus add a few more.
I'm going to talk about the human characters in a bit, and the human characters that think that they're trolls. But I first want to ask about the trolls themselves. Graham, what do you think it is that makes the Boxtroll characters, and we saw a bit of them in the film, so interesting and lovable?
Well, for me, they don't talk. I don't like to talk a lot, and they didn't talk a lot. I got an opportunity. I was finishing up storyboarding on Paranorman, and there was a bit of a lull for production for the story department, and I got an opportunity to help Tony out. He was still wrestling the whole Here Be Monsters book down, and I got a chance to storyboard a sequence, which didn't end up in the film, but it was a moment when the Boxtrolls find a baby in the trash. And as a storyboard artist, it was like my dream come true in terms of a sequence to work with, because again, these guys just gurgle and emote with little sounds. Everything's through the acting and the compositions, and I got to work this whole sequence out without any actual dialogue.